welcome, dear friends, to another edition of Omonto, a special economic development program devoted to ideas for promoting fairness and human well-being. I'm your host, Chrispin Dambula. In this edition, I would like us to reflect on worker co-ops as an alternative economic system to capitalism in the democratic era. Stay tuned. Let's start with a brief historical background to capitalism. Before capitalism, there was feudalism, an economic system characterized by agricultural production involving tenants and lords. The lords owned land while the tenants owned labor. The tenants would get a piece of land from their lords and cultivate crops on it, and then a portion of the crops that they would produce would be given to the lords as rent. That system collapsed for many reasons, and you can learn more about feudalism in your library or on Google. And when that system collapsed, it was replaced by capitalism. And one thing I would like to underscore is that capitalism is not different from feudalism, except that it is not limited to agricultural production. The core relationship that is characteristic of capitalism is like that of feudalism, that is, lord-tenant for feudalism and employer-employee for capitalism. In capitalism, the poor, also known as the proletariats, sell their labor to the rich, also known as the bourgeois. In return, they sell their labor in return for wages that are below the value of their labor. In other words, it is an exploitative system whereby the employers exploit the poor to gain even more while paying the poor peanuts. And today capitalism is defunct. It has ended up with the bourgeois sucking up everything, leaving the proletariats with almost nothing. This situation threatens survival of capitalism. But this is not surprising because there is no economic system which has lasted forever. Different economic systems come and go. So that's normal. And it looks like where we are now, capitalism is on the verge of collapse. What seems to be a good alternative to capitalism is the worker-cooperative system, to which I want to shift our attention right now. What is a worker cooperative and how is it different from capitalism? Let's turn to Richard Wolff's for a definition of worker cooperatives. By the way, Richard Wolff is an economics professor and a strong advocate of worker cooperatives. Here's how Democracy at Work defines a worker cooperative. It is a values-driven business that puts worker and community benefits at the core of its purpose. And in this economic system, workers own the business and they participate in its financial success on the basis of their labor contribution to the cooperative. The workers have representation on and vote for the board of directors, adhering to the principle of one worker, one vote. And also worker owners often manage the day-to-day operations through various management structures. So the point I would like to make here is that there is no boss who hires and fires workers at will, as is usually the case with capitalism, whereby the boss can do whatever they want and they steal all the profits that the workers make, um, uh, claiming that it belongs to them. And the employer-employee relationship that characterizes capitalism has no place in the worker co-ops. Everyone is important and equally participates in the management decisions. Do you like that? I think that's a good system. I think it's much better than capitalism, which is exploitative. I think worker cooperative system is democratic. Every worker is involved in the management decisions, unlike capitalism, whereby the boss plays the role of a dictator, telling everyone what to do and pocketing all the returns from the labor of the workers. This reveals how weak our societies are structured. You may have never thought about this, so let me explain. The major systems that are widely accepted across the world are democracy and capitalism. What a contradiction! Just think about that. Friends, this is oxymoronic. Capitalism is an enemy of democracy. The boss makes all decisions while the workers have no say. Are you getting it? But the worker cooperative system aligns with democratic values as all workers equally participate in all decisions for managing their company. Let me highlight a few advantages of the worker cooperative system. They embrace democratic values, as we have already explained. They promote equality. Worker co-ops are equally owned and governed by employees who also earn money from the profits of their labor. There is job security. You can be certain about it. No boss can fire you anyhow, as is the case with capitalism. Unfortunately, there are only about 465 worker co-ops with 7,000 workers in the United States, despite decades of existence of the worker cooperative system. This number is too small compared to the population of the United States. So the question is, why is that so? US culture is individualistic, mostly in the West. The dominant culture is individualistic. Most people believe in autonomy. I can do it all alone. Others must listen to me. I deserve to have a final say. You get the picture there? So that does not work in worker co-ops. Worker co-ops may easily flourish in communitarian cultural contexts like Africa, for example. And by the way, worker co-ops are not new. Most smallholder farmers in countries like Malawi were organized into cooperatives that functioned like worker co-ops, except that they were solely focused on agriculture. In communitarian culture, to be human is derived from how one relates to others, not the amount of wealth one has accumulated. Community interests always precede individual interests, which is exactly what worker co-ops are about. And so think about that. Take a moment and just compare capitalism and the worker co-ops to see the disadvantages and the advantages. And as I have presented here, you're going to see that the worker co-ops seem to have more advantages than capitalism. Before we go, let me suggest that culture needs to change if the worker cooperative system is to flourish in the United States. For countries in Africa and all over the world that are still struggling to embrace capitalism, I would recommend not to waste time on a system that has worsened off economic inequality in the United States. Worker-cooperative system is the best candidate to replace capitalism as an economic system that can work for everyone. And now we've come to the end of our program today. On behalf of our team at Ubuntu Research Institute, URI, I would like to thank you all for being with us. Be there again next week when we shall bring you another edition of Ubuntu. See you next week.